in your transformation, kind of your fitness transformation, right? Your health objectives, your weight loss goals, your relationships, with family and friends. I would be curious if you thought back, or even if better yet, if you journaled, at what point you started doing your evening gratitudes, how that affected the things we're talking about here. Well, cool. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thankful Thursday. As in most of our team huddles, I thought we'd just kind of recap real briefly where we've come so we can segue kind of into the topic of today. I thought we'd get into kind of impact or benefits of gratitude. We're seeing that studies are showing there's both physical and psychological health benefits to having gratitude in your life. So I think that's a good one to delve into, to kind of give us, if the reasons we've talked about thus far aren't enough, these other ones that aren't so immediately obvious might help us to be more, to experience gratitude more. The lead up to this has been, as we've talked about, how do we get there? We've talked about having Thanksgiving, being thankful in our life, being that thought. And as with everything in our lives of how we do things, it's a thought first, right? And then it either in a good way or in a bad way will become an emotion. If we're monitoring that, we can assess whether it's a good emotion or bad emotion. And then if we're even monitoring that further, we can determine whether that's a healthy action to have, right? And then in our Mindful Mondays, we'll be talking about how to monitor that. I mentioned Dr. Roger Hall really focuses on what you monitor, you manage, right? If you're not aware of something, you don't monitor it. If you don't monitor it, you don't manage it. So we become aware of things, then we can monitor that and make improvements in a positive direction. Otherwise, we're just kind of stagnating, and even worse, in my opinion, going backwards, because we're not getting better. I think our natural human tendency is to kind of look at the negativity in life. So, and then we talked about a little bit about why optimistic people have better lives, right? They have more joy in their life. They have more peace in their life. The reasons, I call it to wear rose-colored glasses, that actually realistic people have a tendency to be optimistic just by virtue of the world that we live in and the negativity that's around. So why it is that we would want to look at things kind of even from more of a non-realistic point of view. We're trying to move the ball forward. We're trying to have positive thoughts, fighting against the negativity that the world would otherwise, bring to us. And then I came across an article in a paragraph that I actually read a couple of times. I won't reread it to you, but then we segue into gratefulness changes perspective, right? So everything in our life, all the experiences that we have, we generally have an outlook. We generally have a perspective on how that interaction went with that person, how that, experience translated. You've heard the stories that if you ask two people that were in the same event circumstance, you'll quite often get kind of two different stories, and it's mainly in part to two different perspectives. I mentioned my girlfriend. She has a lot of fun doing the things that she does because her perspective is such that she's just happy to be there, and experiencing it, and it's infectious. So I don't want to reread the paragraph, but I just want to kind of point out the things that she comments on. in what happens in changing perspective, it turns enough into more, right? So we could go about our day and think, oh, this car is enough. It gets me from point A to point B. No big deal. Or, hey, I have a car, or I have a nice car. You're doing the same thing. You're driving down the road, but it turns that vehicle not just into, a nicety, but a pleasantry, and be grateful for that. She said, turns denial into acceptance, right? We can't get past something if we're constantly denying the situation, the experience, the negativity. So being grateful for having gone through it, I believe even looking forward to trial and tribulations, hardships, that perspective change that, hey, that was a bad experience, but I am now better for it, right? I either know more about myself or about people, or about how to overcome difficulty in my life. That's the same event, different perspective. She also talks chaos to order. Hey, I have young kids in the house. This is difficult. This is frustrating. I'm tired, whatever it might be. And if you kind of change your perspective to, hey, I have a family, I have a significant other, I have these children that I'm going to raise, and it kind of reframes all that. I think that's pretty powerful. As it relates to that, I heard back in the day, I don't remember who I heard it from, but people that look at their children sometimes can develop a sense of, I have to do this, which is significantly different than I get to do this, right? Same day-to-day activity with people, specifically kids, but a totally different way of looking at it and being thankful and subsequently showing gratitude for doing that. I think is one of the biggest things, best things that you can do for your children, because then they feel your sense of, hey, not only am I going through the motions, but I really enjoy, being a parent. I don't know, Mark, you seem to have a pretty good, shift in perspective on that with your great relationship with your daughter.
Yeah. I think that every day, I mean, it's something different every day. And it's, I guess for me, it's she's just a gift. And so that's where my gratitude comes in, because I just watch her every single day do the things that she does. And the years of whatever growing up was, for me, always a joy. Any time that I can spend, even if it's 5 minutes driving her to the store, that's 5 minutes that I have that I might not have had to spend with her. So, I mean, that to me is important. I'll take those moments any day of the week.
Yeah.
Because just to me, that's what's important to me.
Yeah, that's one thing I really love that you've told me is like, hey, I look forward to an opportunity to drive my daughter from point A to point B to spend time with her, instead of, oh, I got to go get her and then I got to go take her somewhere. Two drastically different perspectives on doing the same thing.
Right.
And I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but as it relates specifically to real estate, one of the things she referenced is turns a stranger into a friend. In this world we live in, we can kind of go into our own little bubble and just want to bounce from point A to point B. But really, as real estate agents, it benefits us to be extroverts and be outgoing and be friendly. I mean, we should do that anyway, right? I think, people love to see smiling faces and helpful people, and we should do that anyway. But, as a real estate agent, it kind of comes with the territory, right? So shift that perspective to, hey, here's a soon to be friend, instead of here's a stranger I don't know anything about and that I'm going to shy away from. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to revisit that a little bit. to talk and then get into these physical and psychological health or benefits of gratitude. I think I briefly mentioned better sleep last week, which we all know translates into a lot of different things, right? Better recovery for exercising and REM sleep, deep sleep. The other ones are a better immunity system. You know, I find that interesting that these studies are finding out that we stay healthier by having gratitude. I think the next one, higher self-esteem, is a little more obvious. You know, that person that we otherwise treated like a stranger and now we're treating like a prospective friend, you know, there's self-esteem that comes out of that. There's confidence that comes out of that. And people, you know, love to be around people that have that confidence and that self-esteem. Decreased stress. I think we could all use less stress in this world, right? Lower blood pressure, less anxiety and depression. I think that's definitely high these days, right? Anxiety. We live kind of an anxiety-prone world. Depression, especially since COVID, is rampant. Suicide rates are up. So, you know, what do we do about that stuff? Again, back to kind of that locus of control we talked about. I think it was last Mindful Monday. You know, is it on us to change the anxiety and the depression that we have? Or are we going to expect the world to address it? You know, can I go to a counselor? Can I, you know, have positive conversation? I mean, I could go do all that externally, or I can bring that internally and say, how can I myself change it? And gratitude's one of those big ways to do that.
No, and Jared, I'm just going to add something today. My post on Facebook this morning has to similar to kind of do with this that we're talking about, and it said that every negative thought is a down payment on your failures, and every positive thought is an investment on your future. And when I was sitting there thinking about that this morning, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so I put this out there, and what if people have such a negative downturn? It's like, how do I do that? How do I think more positive? How do I get more positive? And my biggest answer to myself was gratitude. Mm-hmm. I think that you can shift pretty much any of your thoughts that come into your mind when you become grateful for and have gratitude, even if it's being grateful for the negative thought that you had, because it shows you kind of where you are, a perspective that you can start at, and where you can go from there. I think gratitude is like one of the biggest things that can really change our life, our perspective, and the way that we look at things in the world. And I just think that gratitude is huge. And the more that we can practice it, the better off we're going to be all the way around, even with our clients, with our friends, with our families, and even with ourselves. I just wanted to add that today.
Yeah, I appreciate you contributing that. And actually, on these Thursdays, you quite often come to my mind because you do talk about that a fair bit, which I appreciate. And I wonder, in your transformation, kind of your fitness transformation, right? Your health objectives, your weight loss goals, your relationships, you know, with family and friends. I would be curious if you thought back, or even if better yet, if you journaled, at what point you started doing your evening gratitudes, how that affected the things we're talking about here. Have you been more healthy? Has your blood pressure likely decreased? Are you getting better sleep? I'd be curious if you can map a correlation. You don't necessarily need to do that today, but because you've been doing gratitudes for a while now, right?
For a long time. Yeah. And I have to tell you, Jared, there was a point in my life that, and it was before I started the gratitudes, that I was pretty negative, and I had a lot of negative thoughts, and I was not happy with myself. I was not healthy. There were a lot of different things that were going on. And once and I think I started the gratitudes because of seeing the way the world was, seeing where I was. I wanted something that was different. I wanted a shift. I wanted my life to be different than where it was, because negativity took me down some pretty bad rabbit holes that didn't make me happy.
Yeah.
And once I started writing gratitudes and started looking at the things in life that I can be grateful for, it really changed my outlook on life. And once I had a better outlook on life and I was happy to be alive, everything else started changing along with it. My health, my attitude, my blood pressure, just all the things that go along with that. It made a huge difference in my life.
That's awesome.
And even in my relationships.
Yeah, I love it. Enjoying life.
Yeah.
Well, the last two that they had on this list are stronger relationships, which you're seeing evidence of, and higher levels of optimism. And we already covered that, right? Why optimism is preferred. So we're wrapping up our 15 minutes here. I just came across a quote from Robert Emmons. I hope I pronounced that right. He's a professor at UC Davis that I thought was helpful. And he says, gratitude blocks toxic emotions such as envy, resentment, regret, and depression, which can destroy your happiness. I think that summed up everything you just said.
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, with that, we'll wrap it up and I'll wish you a blessed day.
Yeah, you too. And Carissa, you're looking like you're having a good time there.
We're
Are
lost.
you lost yet?
We're
you
lost.
yet? Yeah.
We're lost. No idea where we're going. We were letting the 5 and 6-year-olds take us, and I think that was a bad idea.
I love
That
it.
looks like fun.
They're 7. They're 7-year-olds. Unfortunately, I said it wrong.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
thanks for sharing with us, Carissa. That's been awesome.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
looking
you
like a
guys
lot
get to
of
just
fun.
see where we're at.
Yeah, it's
Love
good
it.
though.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Have a great day. See you later.